Today on the Transrational Blues, we're going to talk about what it means to be. Is it because I think that I am, or is it because I'm perceived that I am, or perhaps I am because we are? I got the privilege to work in physical therapy for 8 years, one-on-one with people, and I got to meet so many of you and work so closely with you. Also, I've been a music teacher for many years, working one-on-one with students. I am because we are. I hope that my work inspires you to be curious about the sacred nature of our existence, the sacred nature of being. Bless you, my friend. This is René Descartes. René, so smart, he helped Isaac Newton lay the foundations for Principia Mathematica. And I certainly don't mean to give Mr. Descartes any shit. However, I think, therefore I am, is kind of like the Cartesian curse to me. I came to identify that statement with how I had over-identified with my own thoughts and emotions and suffered so deeply. So to me, René Descartes' face, that archetypal face, symbolizes my own over-identification with thinking. And in the inconceivably small amount of Descartes that I have read, the voice reminded me of Vizzini from The Princess Bride, whose logic, if-then thinking only got him a mouthful of iocane powder, odorless and tasteless. And next, along the lines of Western philosophy, I discovered George Berkeley here, who says, to be is to be perceived. You know, when a tree falls in the forest and no one is there to hear it, does it make a sound? Simply stated, we may say that Descartes' archetypal face says that thinking is being, and George Berkeley says to us that perception is being. Being is being perceived. We are approaching an understanding of our I-amness, what it means to exist. It wasn't Descartes or Berkeley that turned me on to being, though. It was actually a teacher from the East. That was actually Thich Nhat Hanh, many years before I would ever even see George Berkeley's face. Thich Nhat Hanh invited me to breathe and to simply be, to observe with compassion the storms on the surface of the self, the conflicted, wounded child. He even suggested that you rock that wounded child, but always just coming back to the breath. He would say breathing in and breathing out. There was also Pema Chodron, who was incredibly influential for me along the lines of just letting things be. Life is sticky and juicy and stinky, she would say. There's no fixing it. Yes, put it back together and then it's going to fall back apart. To be is to be perceived, that meditation truly is just an emptying and then just a deep generosity and compassion as I notice after 5 minutes that I'm not empty at all. How am I going to work with that? Because meditation is not something that I'm doing. If you think you're doing it right, then that's not the whole idea. And if you think you're doing it wrong, you're just caught right in the same thing. Now, I said all of that to get to this. This is why I started this video today. I am because we are. Ubuntu, an African saying. I am because we are. I am that great I am, and so are you. Namaste. The divine in me acknowledges the divine in you. Humanity does not exist in individuated forms. Bayo Akomolafe, please check out this man's work. It has been strangely potent in the small doses that I've encountered his writing. I'm not going to try to describe Bayo Akomolafe. I'm not familiar enough with his work, except that it moves me. When I read it, it refigures my language systems, like the way he uses words. I understand it, although I haven't heard it before. And that is archetypal, epic, and mythic to me. And I love the way he does that. If you haven't checked out Daniel Schmachtenberger and Nate Hagens, please do so. I love these guys. As a middle-aged white guy, you gotta have some heroes. Noam Chomsky, I remember when I was really down on myself for being white and being a man, Noam Chomsky really inspired me with his encyclopedic mind and his capacity to draw lines. And when I was really, really hurting around 9/11 and what I saw what appeared to be just enough information to really feel like I had been deeply lied to, and there's that, there's all those tunnels that you can go down. Noam just simply said to me, Noam said, hey, look, the bigger the conspiracy, the more people that have to be involved, and the less likely it is to be a conspiracy where everyone is keeping that secret. So a moon landing would be a big deal, or like astrophysics all being a lie would be a huge, like Truman Show kind of lie. So Noam just compassionately and very intelligently helped me to start looking at systems instead of people or groups of people. And I've seen some friends, some brothers, go down some deep, dark rabbit holes that apparently you can get so squeezed in them that you just can't even get out. I'm a mystic, and I'm also a little platonic zeros and ones, rational ifs and thens kind of dude, which brings me to the next point. I am because we are. Jesus was born into a culture which believed itself to be God's special people. They believed that their laws were given to them by God. Their God instructed them to dominate the land, the people, and all the non-human beings too. Jesus' people believed that if they followed their God-given rules, that they would be safe from God's wrath and that God would bless them. But it didn't always go well for them. Jesus' ancestors were forced into slavery. Generations of slavery has quite a crippling effect on the human psyche, lasting for generations. We now call this epigenetic trauma. Jesus' people had a real rough time. Like all of us, they were searching for a home, and home wasn't easy to find. If another group got in their way, Jesus' people believed that God gave them instructions to destroy them. They didn't want to be homeless again, and they certainly did not want to be slaves. They believed that they had to fight just to survive. If we don't kill them, they will kill us. We now call this game theory. Kill or be killed. It's understandable. Colonialism. Jesus was born into a land colonized and ruled by the Roman Empire. Jesus understood oppression and marginalization. This was an essential understanding for someone in his line of work. Social justice. Some of his neighbors gossiped that he had been conceived out of wedlock, which was a very big deal in his strict religious culture. Jesus was an unusual fellow, more empathetic than any of his people before, and more intelligent even than the priests at the temple. And he knew what it meant to be marginalized, exiled, and pursued. He was on the run with his family at an early age. Jesus had to be very experienced in order to help the people that he loved. Jesus' people were incredibly wounded, not unlike many other peoples that had come before them. Jesus' people, generally speaking, were more concerned with external appearances than heart condition. All their many traumas had separated themselves from their deepest self, God. And this is not a criticism of Judaism by any means. All I'm doing is using Jesus's relationship with his culture, with his religion, with the world that he was born into to describe the human condition and things that we still see in today's world. When Jesus was a baby, there were these 3 super-tuned gurus from India who came to visit him. They brought him some gifts, and they extended an invitation to him for a visit. Once he outgrew the teachings at the temple, his parents knew it was time for Jesus to take that journey that the wise men from the East had suggested. Come on, Jesus, let's go. By the way, there's some wonderfully weird mystery in the fact that Jesus was not what he was called when he was here, and we say that Jesus is the name above all names. I don't know, it was just like a little Easter egg hidden in fundamentalist Bible Belt Christianity for me. The cosmic joker strikes again. Not the Joker like the Batman Joker, but the one who laughs at the cosmic Joker. Oh, wait, are they one and the same? The Jewish priests in the temple were amazed. They could not understand how Jesus could have such profound insight into the scriptures that they had studied for years. 500 years before Jesus was born, Siddhartha Gautama got his Buddha on, and there was a deep yogic devotion to the sacred nature in which the Buddha was rooted. The masters in the Far East provided the disciplined communal experience and depth of oneness teachings that Judaism could not. And by the way, if you're sitting there thinking, does this guy really believe what he's talking about? Just realize that this is kind of like a patching together of all the stories that I've ever heard, supported by this incredible admiration and love and respect for the poet warrior that appeared to me and set me free. The one I call Jesus, Yeshua HaMashiach. Jesus came on the scene with a radically different approach. He saw clearly that all the following of rules did not necessarily result in love. He said, love God with all you've got, and love your neighbor as you love yourself. Love God with all you got, with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and love your neighbor as you love. That means you got to love yourself. Thanks, Thich Nhat Hanh. You got to sometimes, and that might mean you have to rock that wounded child. All for the purpose of this relationship with the sacred nature of being. Self-love, the deepest of self-love. Respect for all life. I am because we are.